The Xbox Series X is designed to be plain, simple, and direct, not trying to catch your attention with its visuals and dramatic flair, but instead focusing on what's more important: the accessibility of games. Being able to obtain the best visual and consistent quality with a console, while at the same time offering a straightforward approach that is reliable and easily recognizable to a majority audience. Especially if you are a gamer that primarily plays on the Xbox consoles. Not only does this console focus on getting you straight to the games, Microsoft is also bridging the gap between PC and console with their new model and strategy for gaming, specifically the new Xbox application for PC, as well as the Xbox Game Pass. And after playing on this console for the past month, I have to say I am pleasantly surprised and very pleased with this new strategy for the Series X. I started playing games online with the Xbox 360. That first magical experience, being able to play with another person who wasn't sitting beside me, introduced me to a brilliant new social form of engagement where I was never alone, and through online gaming, I built relationships with people that I would have never met in real life. So, the history of the Xbox holds a special place in my heart. But without further ado, the review for the Xbox Series X. When it comes to the unboxing, it shows you an initial image of the console, while at the same time showing all of the perks that are involved with the console itself. But one thing that caught my attention was the back of the box. On the back, you can clearly see the Master Chief from the iconic Halo series displayed prominently alongside the motto, "Power Your Dreams." But the thing that really confused me about this image were two things. One, why is the Master Chief the sole character on the box, when the Xbox has a larger cast of exclusive mascots? For example, off the top of my head, Kate Diaz and Marcus Phoenix from Gears of War, and Cars from the Forza franchise. These are two well-known exclusive mascots that have more recent content in comparison to Halo. Considering that there is no launch Halo title for the Series X, and there won't be a Halo Infinite for another year, it's a bit odd that the Master Chief is the only character displayed. The other choice in design that I thought was a bit strange was the lack of extravagant representation of the Xbox Game Pass. The Xbox Game Pass is a brilliant new design which essentially creates a Netflix-like platform for gaming. And yes, it is represented on the box. But to be honest, I would have expected the Game Pass to be more prominently labeled on the back, considering how useful the product is. You essentially have a pre-built healthy library of games that translates to both console and PC, while only paying a monthly fee of $15. I just expected that they would display the Game Pass a bit more enthusiastically, considering its significance. Although this isn't a big deal, more along the lines of just a quick observation. Upon the initial unboxing, you are presented with this tightly packaged console with the motto "Power Your Dreams" boldly printed and wrapped around the device. Putting the console aside, you are also given a series of basic accessories, such as a power cable, HDMI cable, batteries, an instruction manual, and one Xbox controller. The thing that I thought was actually quite nice about the controller is that Microsoft went with a very straightforward and simple approach. It looks almost identical to the previous Xbox One controller. The difference now is the enhanced textures alongside the handles and triggers, the directional pad, the new use of the Thunderbolt cable charging, and the new screenshot share button. My only disappointment is that this new controller did not have a built-in battery supply, similar to the PS5 and the Xbox Series 2 Elite controllers. Other than that, having an accessory that was so easily recognizable was quite enjoyable and made gaming a lot more familiar in terms of just button layout and overall feel of the controller. Not just that, but the Xbox Series X allows for the complete use of the Elite Series 2 controllers, the controller that I prefer to use, and that was a lovely surprise for me, mainly because I am a big fan of using paddles with my controller. When it comes to the console itself, it's just your standard rectangular box you can play games on. On one side, you have rubber pieces to allow for a horizontal position for the console. In case you don't have enough room, on the bottom you have a circular pedestal to allow for vertical positioning. You also have your power button, disc tray, a button to connect controllers with, and on the top of the console, you have ventilation. But something very cool about the ventilation was there was this hidden green tint on the top of the vents that allowed for a glowing design to this rather simple structure. And that really did give it a sense of style. It sort of reminded me of the original color scheme of the first Xbox. And on the back, you have your power input, HDMI out, an Ethernet port, 2 USB ports, and an extended storage expansion slot. I did notice, however, in comparison to the Xbox One X, the Series X does not have an HDMI input anymore, only the HDMI out. Personally, I never used the HDMI input on my Xbox One, so I didn't view this as that big of an issue. Again, just an observation. But to recap, in the box, you get the Xbox Series X, power cable, one HDMI cable, and the new version of the Xbox controller. Once you've set up the console and booted up the system, you're presented with the user interface. And if you've been playing on the Xbox One within the past 2 months, this interface is completely identical to the previous generation. And I believe this was intentional in order to provide a seamless transition between generations. There were multiple times within the past month where I just forgot that I was playing on the Series X, and I thought I was actually just playing on the Xbox One. There is zero difference with this interface. Now, this could either be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on your perspective. If you're someone that values consistency and doesn't really enjoy change, this console will essentially fit like a glove. But if you are looking for innovation, something dramatic, some form of excitement just before you launch a game, well, then this console doesn't offer much in terms of style, at least when it comes to the interface. Although, with that being said, I did appreciate the layout of their store page. I love how easily you can navigate through the store and find games, movies, and third-party applications. I also love the fact that there is now an accessories page, where you can search through and find various physical items, such as controllers, headsets, expansion cards, etc., that you can actually purchase directly through the store. So with the unboxing and the user interface out of the way, this now leads to the most important factor, which is the gaming experience on the Series X. And I'm happy to say, this past month, with most games, I did not experience any bugs, crashes, glitches, hardware issues, etc. Except for games that were known for having glitches, such as Cyberpunk 2077 and Borderlands 3. The 3 main games that I ended up playing on the Series X were Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, and Immortals Fenyx Rising. Not even discussing the story elements of each one of these titles, but strictly discussing from a technical point of view. All 3 of these games ran beautifully on the Series X. There was never a moment where the frame rate would drop, my Series X never had an extreme overheating issue, and I would check periodically to see if there was, just by putting my hands on the sides of the console, but it remained cool and quiet 90% of the time. Also, when put side by side with the One X, I did notice that the loading times on the Series X are faster. Although, admittedly, when I'm in the middle of gaming and I am completely immersed, that isn't something I pay attention to. I'm one of those people, whenever there is a very long loading screen, I would just look at my phone and scroll through social media. So the only difference for me now is that I don't look through my phone as often, and the video game that I'm currently playing has my full attention. 2 things that did bother me though. when it came to the gaming experience. I am someone that enjoys playing on an ultra widescreen monitor, which supports a 21:9 aspect ratio. I was disappointed to find out that the Series X does not support a 21:9 aspect ratio, but instead only supported the standard 16:9. So unfortunately, with this console, I wasn't able to get that ultra widescreen immersion from my games. Another design that I wasn't a big fan of was the utilization of the Series X optimized games. I use an external hard drive for my Series X, and when I transferred Series X optimized games onto my external hard drive, I found out that the Xbox wasn't capable of playing these games unless it was specifically stored inside the internal storage, which wasn't that big of a deal. It was just sort of a nuisance, considering that I have hundreds of games for the Xbox, and I don't want to transfer my games back and forth between external and internal hard drives. Plus, I don't want to buy an expansion card for my console, considering that they are very expensive. From what I saw, they go up to $200+. Other side notes. Although this would fall into the gaming experience, this didn't cater specifically to just the Xbox, but Microsoft as a whole. With how I am as a gamer, I jump between consoles and my PC very frequently, and because of that, I absolutely fell in love with Microsoft's Xbox application for PC. I have my entire gaming station set up in such a way that everything is connected to my PC, and with the Xbox application, even if I'm playing on PlayStation, Nintendo, or playing directly on my computer, with the application, I can still keep in touch with all of my online friends that I made through Xbox. Since the new party system allows for consoles to connect with computers and even with cellular devices, which unfortunately isn't something that I can do with the PlayStation or any PlayStation app. Another thing that blew my mind was the Xbox Game Pass. If you had purchased the Xbox Game Pass or the Ultimate Edition on Xbox, your subscription transfers over to PC, and on PC, you have a somewhat different library that you have access to. Just paying for one subscription gives you two different Xbox Game Pass libraries, one for console and one for PC. And yes, I did mention this in the beginning, but I felt it was necessary to also add it in the side notes, considering how great of a deal it actually is. So instead of just your standard numerical rating system, 0 out of 10, 5 out of 10, etc., we're going to be using something that we like to call our quote system. Certain words that we would use to associate with this console, and from there we elaborate on those words. And the first word I would use to describe this console is simple. From the design of the console to the feel and handling of the controller, the ease of accessibility with user interface, and just the gaming experience overall, this console is as straightforward as can be. Not once did I have any trouble navigating through my games, creating party invitations for my friends, or even purchasing new content from the store. Everything about this console is simple and to the point, which could either be a great thing or not as great, depending on what you were expecting from the new generation. The next word I would use to describe this console is reliable. I understand that not everyone's experience will be the same, and I can only speak from my perspective, having played this console for exactly 1 month. But within that 1 month, I did not experience a single crash, hardware error, or any gaming errors between Assassin's Creed, Call of Duty, and Immortals Fenyx Rising. Everything ran smoothly, I didn't run into any issues. Even when I had the system on for 14+ hours, the Series X managed to handle even my most intense gaming sessions, and that made for a very enjoyable experience. The last word I would use to describe this console is ambidextrous. The way Microsoft is handling the Game Pass and being able to communicate between console to PC to even cell phones, Microsoft is going beyond the Xbox and is thinking about gaming through more than just a singular device. And to be honest, that is exciting. But with all of that being said, I'm not here to tell you whether or not you should or shouldn't buy the Series X. If you are determined to buy a PlayStation, go for it. I think that's a great console as well. Whatever your decision may be, just remember to have fun. You have way too many things in this world to worry about. Let video games be the escape you need, even if it's only for a minute. I hope you guys had a fantastic Christmas day. And even if you didn't, I hope you guys have an even better New Year. Happy holidays, everyone.